Hello, boys. Hello, girls. You're now listening to the Glorified House Show. At this time, I'm recording this like in the morning, like 9:44, 9:45. I only have a little bit of time to do this before I go into work, so I'm gonna try to speed through this as fast as I can. What I plan to do is to do somewhat of a review on NXT Takeover New Orleans and my predictions, and also for WrestleMania 34. Um, I woke up not too long ago. I figured if I don't get this done now, it'll never get done, right? So if I seem a little disoriented or if I sound a little disoriented, I apologize. But I want to do this. I thought about doing it last week. I mean, all this week, but just haven't had the chance to do it. I now have the chance to do it, and here we go. So let's talk first about the build to both brands and coming to WrestleMania weekend. As for NXT, it's what it is. They do a great job of telling like a simple storyline. The belts are important. The feuds are very understandable and relatable, and they don't do anything out of the ordinary to draw you in. From from the top of the card to the bottom of the card, these are blood feuds. These are feuds over pride. These are feuds over belts. And other than that, you have the ladder match for the belt, which for the new North American belt, which I think is probably one of the most dynamic group of wrestlers you could ever put in one ring, almost ever. It's a hot take, and maybe it's not popular opinion, but I'm looking forward the most to see this ladder match and to see how all these intricate parts work together. A bunch of new blood, a bunch of people we're already familiar with, but I've already spoke too much just for the intro of this. But NXT, again, the storylines. So you walk in knowing who to cheer, who to boo. You walk in with a sense of, connection to the actual fight, and that's what NXT has been able to do consistently over the years. It's not like they hit a home run every time with the matches and the storylines, but for the most part, they're batting a very high average. For the main roster in the WWE and their WrestleMania storyline and build up, it's been topsy turvy. There's only one match on the entire card that had any sense coming together, and that was Asuka versus Ric Flair versus Charlotte Flair. All the rest of the card is kind of been hitting and missing all through the year up to this moment, and it's almost as if they scrambled to try to make sense of a lot of the storylines, and because they focused on some things that were to me is not as important, but had bigger names involved. It overshadowed the ones that didn't have the bigger names, but had a better chance of building a storyline worth following and worth investing in. And that's what we're left with now. More into that in a moment, but I'm just going to go ahead and go into NXT. I'm reading from the Wikipedia page of the matches that they have planned to have. It's always, they probably add another something to this, but again, this NXT takeover show is 2 hours, so they could only get but so many matches, and I doubt if they throw like something in there, unlike the main roster in the last minute. So let's start from the bottom. Well, I guess the bottom of the list of the Wikipedia page and their match selection. You got Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa. The the match itself, it speaks for itself. You know what the deal is. There's no leeway to anything. It's just a straight up blood feud between two people who were once tag team partners, tag team champions, and best friends. Tommaso Ciampa turned on Johnny Gargano, got injured in the process, which was probably the best thing to happen to make this feud really as heated as it is. Johnny finally gets his revenge. He finally gets his payback. Tommaso Ciampa finally gets his comeuppance. They meet, and it's a stipulation is if Gargano wins, he is reinstated in NXT, and if Ciampa wins, he's banned from NXT forever. So there's so many different parts to this, especially going into the idea of who's going to get called up. Now, my prediction is that Ciampa loses and he goes to the main roster, and he is a bona fide heel on the main roster for the cruiserweight division, because they are lacking in the heel department. I don't even know who's the heel. I don't even know who is a heel in NXT in the cruiserweight division. But he's a bona fide, and plus you have to take in consideration that, like, if Johnny loses, they're gonna tear that place apart. They're gonna fucking burn it to the ground. That's how invested they are in Johnny Gargano. Okay, and I haven't seen the likes, even like to make comparisons. It's not like Daniel Bryan's fanship and the people that follow him. They had a certain type of fanship to him. You know, it wasn't rabid. It was more or less just, that's our guy. Gargano, on the other hand, is like, don't you dare hurt him. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like a heartthrob, and like just, you know, little girls doing any and everything possible to protect him and to make sure that everything is just great for him. If he loses, ain't no telling what the fuck is gonna happen in those stands. And that's it, you know, like they say, and a banner's gonna be hanging too. If Gargano loses, we riot. I will take that 100% serious. Okay? So my prediction is Gargano stays and he gets another crack at the NXT Championship. And Tommaso Ciampa loses and he goes to the main roster and he becomes like the center focus heel on the cruiserweight division. Okay, we have the ladder match for the inaugural NXT North American Championship, which is finally the first secondary championship for that brand. We have Adam Cole, baby, EC3 in his first NXT televised match, Killian Dane, Lars Sullivan, Ricochet, and Velveteen Dream. Again, this is the most dynamic group of people. Like I said in the intro, the most dynamic group of individuals that I've seen in one ring in a very long time. Because we get like so many fatal 4-ways and triple threats and 5 ways and 8 ways and 17 ways and 20 billion fucking ways, and it's always these kind of bland characters. Like maybe we're used to them. They've gone so long within the WWE system that they've lost a little personality because they're scripted so heavy. They don't take a lot of chances on bodies. They don't take a lot of chances on certain demographics, color, height, It doesn't matter. But the WWE, if you've seen any kind of mixed challenged or something, it's kind of these one dimensional characters. You know, as much as they try to make them as dynamic as possible, they end up just being Randy Orton, John Cena characters that really you can't really get behind. You know, we have our favorites, obviously, you know, but still to a certain degree, the dynamic spectrum of these main roster guys, whether it's, you know, a Money in the Bank ladder match, whether it's a, you know, the Royal Rumble, whatever. I mean, I'm not taking away from the excitement of say said events, but in terms of like star power and diversity and dynamic presence, we haven't seen the likes of this. And I'll say this, you know, because there's been ladder matches before, and I'm not taking away from them. All I'm saying is Royal Rumble '92, in that colorful array of superstars that were in there, holds. I think this is almost to the, again. It's a very, very hot take. It's hot take city, baby, and I'm gonna stand by it. But as good as a lineup that this is for this fucking thing compares to how special '92 Royal Rumble was. So, you know, if to my prediction will count will. So my prediction on this, who wins this, will reflect the idea that this belt is brand new. This is the brand new belt, right? I feel like I'm talking so much about NXT. I'm not gonna have a lot to say about WrestleMania. I'm just gonna get to the matches and I'm gonna make my prediction. Maybe say a little something, but like, it's just because I can connect more with these. I'm gonna speak a little bit longer on them. Okay, so hear me out. So, being that this is the first belt, the debut of this belt, they did the right thing by getting in these dynamic guys. EC3, Ricochet is their debut, right? So that adds a little more oomph to the match itself, and more eyes on it to see what these new players can do in this system. You also you have Killian Day and Lars Sullivan. These behemoths are reckless. You know, they're pretty amazing, and Lars Sullivan is slowly becoming my favorite wrestler right now. You have the Velveteen Dream and Adam Cole. In themselves, the spectrum of who they are as superstars is on one side and then the other side. And you have to have someone dynamic. You have to have someone ready to legitimize that belt. As soon as it goes around their waist, you know then and there that that North American NXT North American belt is something to shoot for. Once upon a time, like the US belt or like the Intercontinental belt, when you won those belts, you were next man up. You were next man up to the championship. I'm happy that NXT finally did this, you know, because it's not one of those things where you get a belt and you get a belt and you get a belt, very much like New Japan, or even say what they're doing with the U.S. and tag team and Intercontinental belt, and the two championship belts on the main roster. You know, everybody gets a fucking belt. You know, I'm surprised they don't throw in another belt on the main roster just so somebody else can fucking have a fucking belt to flaunt around, twirl around like a fucking toy. But you become next man up, and I think, you know, what Triple H is doing down there and how he's developing that brand is almost to a point where it's not it works against the wrestlers, because, you know, whatever. They end up in these situations. They go to the main roster, and it's whatever. The only person who's benefited from that kind of what they're doing to NXT and to transition over to the main roster. Roster right now is Asuka. That's it. At this moment. Well, anyway, so I predict that Velveteen Dream will win this. I predict that Velveteen Dream will win this because he has probably out of the entire group the most fanfare. And I think in terms of readiness and his character, and yeah, it's pretty gimmicky, but I think what happens with this is that like his character, not only the strength of his character, but I think the strength of him as a wrestler, I think the strength of him and his confidence and his ability to cut a promo and to back it up is it's prime for him to really set this off. Now I look at the lineup and I see Adam Cole and I see EC3 and I see Ricochet sort of canceling themselves out. I see Killian Dane and Lars Sullivan not even trying to really compete to get that belt. Someone's going to have some sort of twitch where they're afraid of heights. Something is going to be either Lars or going to be Killian because they're going to have a little element of comedy. One of those people are going to be afraid of heights. It's just one of those things. And also they're going to go into how Lars Sullivan or Killian Dane are too big for the ladders offered to them. And they're going to do something with that where there's a bigger ladder or sturdier ladder that someone goes from. Ricochet is going to do something where he's going to do a fucking flip off the ladder and damn near break his neck and land on everybody. But I just see the lone survivor to clear everyone out is going to be the Velveteen Dream. And I'm looking forward to his reign. I'm looking forward to him because people cheering him, and I think at some point he's going to have to do something dastardly to finally get that heat that he rightfully deserves. He's a very likable character in terms of his flamboyancy, and I had no idea that it was going to go this route for him to be so good. But he's going to have to do something extremely dastardly for people to really hate him, and maybe that happens. Maybe this happens even this night for NXT Takeover or that night, that Saturday night. Okay, so Velveteen Dream. We got the triple threat tag team match for the NXT Tag Team Championship for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. And I think this is probably the only one that they kind of dropped the ball on. I mean, the Tag Team Classic itself was pretty entertaining, but the way they did the final was kind of main roster-ish, where you got the Authors of Pain and you had Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong competing, and then the Undisputed Era comes in and kind of ruins the fun, which is just like, who didn't see Regal making it a triple threat, match? Who didn't see that? Because they were going to come in. I mean, I don't know what it is about wrestlers, and it's one of those tropes in wrestling that happens over and over and over again. And I get it. This is an old school style of promotion, and maybe, it gets a pass, but it got a groan from me to a certain extent. When they ran in, it's like there's not a single time that someone has run in, interfered in a match to prevent their defense of their belt to not happen. Like, it's never happened before. Like, you get two guys going in there battling for the belt. They run in. No one competes for my belt. No. It becomes a triple threat, or they do a rematch, or whatever. So I think it's just one of those tropes in wrestling I think they really need to get rid of. No one buys it anymore. It's just like, you could hear the groan when they ran in, like, oh man, because I think what works best for this Dusty Rhodes Classic or for any championship, it's a one-on-one match. You know, a one-on-one match, a 4-on-4 match, a 2-on-2 match. You don't need another tag team in there muddying it up and shit. It's the tag team classic. Tag teams aren't meant for fucking triple threats and fatal four ways. They're not. So I'm a little disappointed in that. I really think that Undisputed Era has to retain because there's no way that Roger Strong and Pete Dunne, I mean, this makeshift tag team is going to win a belt, and then like you got the UK champion, and you got this guy. It's just like I don't know. If anything, they should still be feuding. Razor and Akam, they need to just go to the main roster, to Raw. I mean, like their tag team is suck to the point where you got one guy challenging for a tag team match. You know, that's how depleted that roster is in terms of tag teams. You also have what is it? Yeah, Undisputed Era. You have the injury of, I think, Bobby Fish. Yeah, Bobby Fish suffered an injury, so he won't even be competing. So they don't even get a legitimate run with the belt as an actual tag team. And plus it adds to the storyline of Adam Cole competing in both the ladder match and the and this tag team match. They're gonna pull like a Ric Flair with him somehow, where obviously he's not gonna win the. I mean, if he does, that'd be crazy. So he'd be sitting on the North American. If he does win, he'd be sitting on the ladder match. He'd be sitting on the tag team titles, and he's sitting on the North American titles all in one night. So they could pull a Ric Flair. It's not fair to Flair. It's not fair to Cole kind of situation, but I guess we'll just have to see. But I see the Undisputed Era winning this. And Roger Strong and Pete Dunne, you know, they probably build their feud up to face at the next NXT, and then you have the Authors of Pain going to Raw. So Ember Moon and Shayna Baszler. Again, y'all know how I feel about Ember Moon. I wish she would dial it down a little bit on her character, so it's not like anime driven. You know, like someone who's acting as a wrestler rather than being a wrestler. She's so over the top. Shayna Baszler she's a total badass. She goes in, she's been bullying people, whatever. Amber Moon, I don't know. Like this is conflicting to see for this, because it's not like they're gonna call Amber Moon up to the main roster. They have a lot of women on the main roster. I mean, a shit ton of women. Enough for the amount of time that they give them. And they'd be giving them more time. But right now, you know, just between Asuka, Flair, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Bayley, that's and the Money in the Bank holder in Carmella, and then the Riot Squad, you know, and then like, yeah, that's a lot of women. So there's not a lot of room for Amber Moon. I would say that there's probably space for another heel in Shayna Baszler. I don't see why they would need her in NXT if she's already an elite fighter, right? And she's ready. Ronda Rousey is on the main roster right now. They could actually have her as her sidekick. They can build towards maybe for SummerSlam the four horsemen, the four horsewomen. I just don't. There's no need for Shayna Baszler to be down at NXT. I'm ready to see her just partner up with Ronda Rousey as she turn heel, you know, moving forward, and just kind of be, but not like a kooky sidekick, but like a total badass and a definitive heel. on the main roster, a definitive heel on the main roster that's just fucking people up, and Ronda Rousey, like, just fucking people up. So I see Amber Moon winning, retaining the belt. I think in the cards for I think in the cards because they want to do something. I guess they I feel like that Kairi Sane. I think that's run the course, and I think she probably wants her comeback. Maybe they give her a match before she finally goes up, like they did with Bobby Roode and Roderick Strong. They probably give her win. Well, she already has a win, but have her get her comeuppance because she took her out not too long ago. But for the most part, Kairi Sane versus Amber Moon, and Amber Moon passing the torch over to Kairi Sane. That's what's in the cards. And I hope they do something with Dakota Kai. Oh my God, Dakota Kai. She has my heart right now. I don't know what it is about this woman, but like 2 weeks ago, she showed up for a match and it ended up getting disrupted because some other bullshit went down, and I got pretty pissed off. But we'll see with Dakota Kai. I think they got something in the works for her. And then we got the single match, a single match between Andrade Cien Almas versus Aleister Black. This is the second defense of Almas, and I don't see them letting off of that belt quite yet. And as much as Aleister Black is like loved and he's favorited, I think NXT is not doing him any favors from being there. I think we've seen his ability, we've seen him talk, we've seen him do all these things. I don't think being NXT champion is going to help him. I mean, if you look at the roster of all NXT, I mean, there are high hopes for this guy. And if there's any fucking history on NXT champions going to the main roster making any kind of a difference, if you're smart, you don't want Aleister Black anywhere near that championship. Okay? You just don't. I think Almas, for what he is as a champion, fits. I think he's booked old school. He doesn't fight too often. He's a formidable heel. I think, and also at some point you want to keep him around because Johnny Gargano is in the fucking he's back. He's they gotta let him get that win over Aleister Black over Almas. They gotta get him that win, and maybe they build that up going into maybe next year WrestleMania, because they don't need to bring him up to the cruiserweights yet. Let him be down there at NXT for another year, or another half year at least until SummerSlam, right? Have him down there, and then when he wants another go, and if he loses, he retires from wrestling. Like, he retires from wrestling. If he cannot beat Almas for that fucking NXT belt on the biggest stage, either SummerSlam or WrestleMania, he goes, then it's not worth it for me to ever wrestle ever again. And Almas be like, yeah, I get to end this guy's career. Hell yeah. And he beats him. He beats Almas. So as a wrestling fan, I kind of want to see that happen. And you should too. So Aleister Black loses. He goes to the main roster. He goes to SmackDown. He becomes someone who goes after the U.S. title, or maybe goes after the Intercontinental. I would say right now the U.S. title. And I don't know whether he's babyface or heel. He's kind of like a tweener. He's, the CM Punk that Vince can control. But they got big things for him. And I think we'll see. We'll see moving forward. But he has to lose. And if not, the next day we see him show up on, SmackDown Live after WrestleMania. He sticks around, I guess, for just a little longer, and then he goes to the main roster. But he's roster ready right now. is a really depleted roster on the SmackDown. I think it's very depleted. It started off pretty hot, but like it needs all the help it can get right now. So that's my prediction for this match. Cien Almas retains over Aleister Black. He goes to the main roster, and that is my NXT. Subject. It was a card subject to change, but from this Wikipedia page, those are my predictions. So let's go ahead and run quickly through WrestleMania 34, which again, to me, disappointing storyline. It's in New Orleans. All of them, except for one for me, are disappointing storylines. We have the two of the biggest matches. Consist of, well, actually, if you look at the top matches, you look at Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. You look at Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. You look at Stephanie McMahon, Triple H versus Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle. John Cena versus The Undertaker. Those matches are people who either are super part-time or part-time, super part-time, don't wrestle anymore, have never wrestled, or you don't want to see them wrestle. Those are the top matches, and it's like part-time, no time, central, and I disagree with that. I disagree with that so much. I mean, I think I'm not against part-timers. I'm not against part-timers. I am against authoritative figures. I'm completely against the idea of authority figures headlining stuff. I'm against the authority figure storyline in general. I'm so sick of there being some sort of general manager, some sort of COO, some sort of authority figure walking around, moving these wrestlers around like fucking chess pieces, and emasculating them, having them not have their own sense of outlaw in them. Like it's crazy that like for so many fucking years, I mean, we're talking since Vince McMahon becoming Mr. McMahon, ever since that, we're talking almost 20 years ago. We're still in this fucking we're still in this thing where an authoritative figure controls everything. Why can't this promotion be more like NXT? When you got a guy who shows up every once in a while and he sets matches, because it's about the fucking belts. It's not about like, the feuds. It's about the fucking belt. He walks in, he comes in, Regal, he goes in, he goes, this is what's gonna happen. He's not like backstage like demeaning the guys. He doesn't speak outside of anywhere other than say, here's a match, and I'm out of here. And you don't see him until he sets the next match because he needed to step in. He doesn't involve himself in shit, right? New Japan, they don't even have a general manager. ROH, they tried to do the general manager thing with Nigel McGuinness, and it just didn't work. It just did not work. And now they're general managerless, and they let the wrestlers be their own outlaw and let them set their own stakes. And it's enjoyable to watch, even though they're pretty consistent in terms of, as of late, of uploading their shit online. But other than that, it just works. But everyone else, especially the WWE and the main roster, that's hard on for both brands to have a fucking general manager and have them stick their nose in basically any and everything. It just drives me fucking nuts. And you look at two of the top matches involve a fucking McMahon And it involves Triple H, authority figures, general managers, COOs. They're wrestling in the biggest event of the year. Stephanie McMahon is not taking a single suplex all year. Well, she took that fucking ugly ass Samoan drop by Rousey. But like, do you see what I'm saying here? Do you get what I'm saying? The fact that Triple H, Kurt Angle, well, Daniel Bryan, he's a wrestler, right? I mean, kudos, he come back. But Shane McMahon, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Shane McMahon. These motherfuckers have matches at WrestleMania. Not only do they have matches, they have the biggest matches on the card. Then you look at Undertaker, Kurt Angle, John Cena. Like, what sense does that make? What sense does that make to have these people, Triple H, these people who don't wrestle all year, or take John Cena, out of all of them have wrestled the most, but still he's been, let's just say out of 100 gigs, he's only showed up to maybe 15. Like, it makes no sense. And these aren't mega stars. You know, Ronda Rousey, I get it, but she stinks. Fuck her. I'm not looking for it. At one point, I was looking for her to be on the WWE roster. Not anymore, man. Like, please. I hope this is one and done. Fuck your dream matches. Fuck everything. She's never going to improve. She's never going to be what you expect her to be. She's like fucking, she has all this ability, and they want to make her babyface, even as a heel. Everyone's like, make it a heel. Make everyone a heel if it's not working, if it's something. It's like, being a heel doesn't do anything other than you just hate it. You know, you got people who become heels. Like, okay, if you turn Roman Reigns heel, okay, what? What? Then what? Well, he should be a heel. Then what? Like, turn us up. What heel isn't the end all be all. You just want them to perform at a high level. You want them to be stars. You want them to be able to talk. You want them to be able to be hated, right? You want them to be able to be cheered. They've crossed and blurred the line so much in the WWE that a fucking heel, to be a heel, it doesn't fucking matter anymore. That's why it's so hard to distinguish who are heels, who are baby faces on the roster anymore. That's why you're booing Roman Reigns and cheering Rusev, right? Because we're all confused. We're all confused. We're cheering Bray Wyatt. We're all fucking confused. Right? We see Triple H, a heel, and we're bowing down. It's like, what kind of fucking shit is that? And that's WWE's fault. It really is. The fact that they blurred this line, and you don't even know who the fuck is, who to cheer for. You look at a guy like Aleister Black, and I can't even tell you if they're gonna fucking cheer or boo him. I can't tell. I can't even project if they're gonna make him a babyface or a fucking heel. And back to Ronda Rousey. So turn her heel. No, how about she turns the fuck around and go the fuck out the door she entered in. And she could take Brock Lesnar with her. Because it's not doing anybody any favors. And I've said it in another fucking thing where, oh, I just want the respect. She's part of the women's revolution. No, the fuck she's not. She could give a flying fuck about anything involving any other woman in professional wrestling other than her homegirls. If she cared so much about what people thought about her, she would have, I told you, she would have said, you know what? I am not deserving of this spot at WrestleMania. You know what? I feel that I should work from the bottom. I should do more shows where I'm coming out and wrestling matches. She doesn't give a fuck. She's a businesswoman. She's a shrewd businesswoman. And I don't care about the whole, well, she's a loser. She came to this. No. She's Ronda fucking Rousey. She's a big star in her own right, and I understand. But don't try to feed me this dialogue that she is part of this women's evolution revolution thing, that she cares about what the wrestling fans think of her. She could give a flying fuck. Okay? I don't know what Ronda Rousey y'all were watching when she was in the UFC, but she was a self-centered piece of crap. And she's no different than there and here. And she will never improve. I'm telling you guys, I am not looking forward to any of this. If she changes my mind, so be it. But I'm not expecting her to. So that's my rant on this ultimately. That you got these fucking super part-timers, these super old-timers, and these super no-timers taking up at least an hour and a fucking half worth of WrestleMania time. And it's not right. It's not right. Fuck that. It's stupid and it makes no sense to me. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Okay? And it is flippant and it tells you directly whose business this is. You got a motherfucker with, maybe I'll pronounce it wrong, spinal tickulitis. That shit took out Brock Lesnar. That shit took out the biggest, baddest man on the planet as of late. And he couldn't do shit. And you get Shane McMahon, who just a regular dude. Yeah, he got some matches under his belt, but he's not a wrestler, man. He's a dude who wrestles when the checks are big. And he has that same shit, and he's still sanctioned to wrestle. Are you insane? That's how crazy this is to me. That's how big that check is, probably too, right? And the Vince and the McMahon family show, like it's any normal person would have been out. He's on fucking SmackDown, clearly in pain, and he's still gonna fucking, I hate to use the term, take someone's spot, but he's still gonna be out there collecting a check that should go to someone else. It should. He's a McMahon. He already has loot. But I guess I guess you take the money. And it's not, all right, whatever. So I'm going to go over this thing. I'm going to start from I'm reading it again from the Wikipedia page. Subject, was it card subject to change? I'm going to start with the Battle Royals. And there's two this year, the Andre the Giant, and then the women's WrestleMania. They wouldn't even give her another name because of the fucking moolah crap. But let's start with, well, you know what? How about this? I'm not going to start with the Rumble. I'm going to start with the NXT Championship. And I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry for the lapse. I had to take care of some business, but that's the thing about doing like these podcasts and always kind of on the clock when you work for yourself. People are contacting you all the time, or you have to meet up with someone, or someone's knocking at the door, or whatever. But nevertheless, let's get back to business. So we're going to start with the Cruiserweight Championship because they revamped the whole thing, and now it's just, it's less characters, more wrestlers, so on and so forth. So they brought in Rockstar Spud, who goes by like Maverick something. They changed it basically back. They took it from Vince McMahon, and they made it to the thing of how it debuted in the Cruiserweight tournament that they did not too long ago. So Maverick Drake is his name. And then you also have this tournament because everything that happened with Enzo Amore and it's just so many things that's gone on. But they've revamped the Cruiserweight division. They had this tournament, and they already had Cedric Alexander, the top contender, but they had to basically legitimize him being the number one contender again by having him in this tournament. He made it to the final. Mustafa Ali is someone who's just he's becoming a crowd favorite right now. great promo. He did this one promo on his own that's getting a lot of praise. I finally watched it, and he was right. It was really good. But the guy's super talented. He's someone who's, fought his way from, the indies, make it to the large stage. He's been overshadowed, but I think he's always been a crowd favorite because of his dynamic wrestling style. So you get these two guys, and they're basically two baby faces, and it's a hard one to call to say who's going to win. And that's what's great about this. I think if they open it up, it's going to be on the pre-show. It's going to be a shame that they're on the pre-show because it should be on the main, the main showing. It should be. But it's going to be a barn burner. I think it's going to be so amazing to watch. I think the kids are going to come out and really show what they're made of. And, no one wants to start off the show. And I imagine people will still be filing in by the time that their match is underway. But, I don't think the both of them should feel bad. I don't think they should feel slighted in any sense. It's the nature of the beast, and at the same time, I think if they go out there and give it their all, and the people are coming in and they really do a good job, then, I think they have a great chance of being in the good favor of Vince. These are very good wrestlers. These are really good guys. And I think they deserve a little more respect, but they got to go get it. Especially a guy like Cedric Alexander, who's probably fought his way up through the ranks as hard as Mustafa Ali. I mean, he's a North Carolina kid, Greensboro, Charlotte-based guy. So I've seen him my share of times. So if I was to pick, I mean, they already had it in the cards for Cedric Alexander to win. But I think you can squeeze some more matches out of the two of them. I think you can squeeze more matches out of the two of them. And if I was to pick one person right now, and as much as I would love to see Alexander on the big stage get the big win, I think they're going to pull the upset and give it to Mustafa Ali. And I think they're going to do more matches between the two of them. But if you were to give one person the rub right now, I think it's going to be Mustafa Ali. And it's a win-win. Everyone wins. Mustafa wins. Cedric wins. The fans win. I think WrestleMania wins. Triple H and Vince are going to be very pleased by these guys. So that's what's up. You got the Andre Over the Top Battle Royal, and I'm looking at this lineup. Oh my God, this is pathetic. This is so bad. And I imagine they'll throw some more guys in there from NXT or something. And I have two guesses. Like last year, I said if this person, like for what they have on the roster now, wins, and then if they add a predicted added person and a possibility that they may win. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do here. And I'm going to go down this list right now. It's Dash Wilder, Scott Dawson, Baron Corbin, Mojo Rawley, Ty Dillinger, Matt Hardy, Dolph Ziggler, Fandango, Tyler Breeze, Goldust, Heath Slater, Rhino, Zack Ryder, Primo Cologne. Oh, my God. Oh. Murder's Row right there, buddy. And there's only maybe two people that I can see even a chance to pull this off, and that's Rhino and Dolph Ziggler, right? And what they've been doing with Dolph Ziggler, whatever. But I will predict that Dolph Ziggler will win from this lineup that I have right here. The fact that there's no reward, there's no, if you win this, you get this thing. There are no stakes at this. It's just like, okay, you bragging rights, you get some big Andre trophy. Like, that's it. Like, that's all you get. They probably blurb it every once in a while. The winner of the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. I mean, there's nothing really to it. Unless you get someone who's amazingly dynamic. They had it with Cesaro and they flopped that. You know, you got Baron Corbin. What has become of that? Mojo Rawley. I don't even know. For those listening, I did the shoulder shrug. But like, I feel like Lars Sullivan. I feel like Lars Sullivan should come up and participate in this and just demolish everybody and go back down to NXT as the Andre the Giant Battle Royal winner. And they could praise him on NXT for going up to the main roster and basically destroying everyone in sight. He can walk around NXT for a couple of more months as the winner of the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. And I think it would do him a world of justice. So any and everyone who's on the main roster could be like, what to expect coming up to the main roster soon, and have everyone kind of like shaking in their boots. I think that works out best. Lars Sullivan is prime material right now, and I just think, again, it's my humble opinion, but Dolph Ziggler from this list, but if they add another person, say even a Killian Dane, but Lars Sullivan or Killian Dane go up to the main roster to compete in this just for the one night, win it, and go down. But I hope it's Lars Sullivan. I like him a lot. All right, and we got the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal. And let's go down the list here. Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan, Naomi, Natalya, Ruby Riott, Sarah Logan, Bayley, Lana, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Mickie James, Carmella, and Dana Brooke. This is the first. This is the inarguable one. I never can say that word right. Inarguable. You know what? The first one. It's the first one, and they. If I was to make a guess, it would make more sense because there's only one heavy in this entire thing, and that's Sarah Logan. Sarah Logan, out of all these people, I think maybe even Dana Brooke, probably the two heavies in this, right? It would make sense that the biggest girl in the ring, maybe with a little help from her friends, Sarah Logan. I feel like Sarah Logan should win, right? Because she's the heavy out of all of them. But they're telling a story between Sasha Banks and Bayley. And I think they're going to pull the old both of them land at the same time gimmick. They're going to throw each other. They're going to toss everyone out. I think Sarah Logan's going to get a lot of eliminations. I think if it makes any sense, Sarah Logan probably gets the most. She'll probably get 4 eliminations. And she'll probably end up throwing out Ruby Riott. I think she'll probably throw out Ruby Riott and have that thing. I think the Riott Squad has run its course. It's time to break those girls off. Well, that sounded weird. It's probably time to break those girls, separate them. But Sasha Banks and Bayley will eliminate each other. And they're going to go into Monday Night Raw to determine who wins that, to give that more storyline. Because I don't know what the end game is for these young ladies. They're not really making themselves out to be likable characters during this whole petty, we were friends, you did this, the way you looked at me and all this stuff. It's not really a good look for the both of them. They should be kicking ass and taking names in their own right against the rest of the roster, whether it's Asuka all the way down to the fucking Liv Morgan. They should just be kicking ass and taking names. Who's to say they should be friends? I could give a fuck if they're friends. I just want to see them perform at the highest level. But again, that's the WWE trying to make these compelling, dynamic storylines. And I think the best that they've come up with is to make these two just petty. And good job, WWE. If that's what you wanted them to be, this women's evolution, this women's revolution to make these women legitimate badass badasses that can stand on their own and represent women's power and empowerment moving forward to, cat fights in the locker room. Good job. The same with, I ain't even going to go there yet. So yes, Sasha Banks and Bayley eliminate each other. And then they carry on from that. Okay, so we get a tag team. We're finally on the WrestleMania card, the main event card. And we get, and this is from Wikipedia, it's not me. Personally, from my previous video about who should headline WrestleMania, it's going to be obvious that either Triple H with Stephanie versus Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle will headline. I mean, it's either that or Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, right? It's going to be one of those two. A lot of people are talking about maybe even Undertaker, John Cena. And I go, what? Are you nuts? Well, anyway, my pick is the last match. I don't think being the last makes you the headliner. That's a whole other conversation to be had later. But I would like to see Asuka versus Ric Flair. I mean, I keep calling her Rick. Charlotte Flair. That would be my pick. That would be my pick. But let's just go down the roster, and we got 13 matches. 13 matches, people. 13 matches. I don't think you heard me. 13 matches. Insane, ain't it? I think a good 7 matches would do just fine. A good 7 matches would do just fine. With like 2 really badass main events. Not here, buddy. 13. For a 18-hour show. So we got Daniel Bryan with Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. If Owens and Zayn win, they are rehired to SmackDown. Right now they're fired. Whatever. This dark cloud looming, this stupid storyline that of Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon at each other's throats, and now they're buddy-buddy. It's just the weirdest, stupidest thing, and it's drugged SmackDown so much. The only person in here that's really the MVP is Sami Zayn. This guy's turned heel, and the fire in this guy is amazing. He's kicking ass and taking names as this heel. Kicking ass and taking names as a heel. Now, obviously, they're gonna have to win this match. I mean, I know it sucks that Daniel Bryan has to lose his first match in his return, but why not? Does he have to win? He just got reinstated. He hasn't wrestled in 3 years, man. You expect him to just go in and win immediately over 2 guys who've been wrestling all year, guys who are seasoned, guys who are badass, right? He's about to just come in and win, and then you got a fucking 3-legged dog in Shane McMahon. You really expect Shane and Daniel Bryan to win. And I know the odds are against them. They're not going to fire... maybe it's nefarious means that they win, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, but they're going to win. If they remain on the SmackDown roster, then the draft is coming up soon, and they'll just send their asses back to Monday Night Raw. And there's so many different dynamics you can do with this. And cut and dry, you don't do angles on WrestleMania, unless you're someone extremely special. And even to the point where I don't even think Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon are as special enough to do an angle on WrestleMania, right? Let's just say, Sammy turns on Kevin. Bryan turns on Shane McMahon. Like, none of that happens, all right? None of that happens, okay? Anyone who wants to speculate. 13 matches, people. It's 13 matches. They don't got time to do angles, all right? Just putting it out there. before I go to the next match, it's WrestleMania, right? WrestleMania is the go home of all go homes until you start the next season. Baby faces will win, okay? I think out of the 13 matches, maybe 2 heels will win. 2 heel tag team or whatever will win. But the rest is to send you home happy, babyface wins, whatever, okay? I'm going to try to swiftly go through these. And especially like the ones that I've already kind of ranted about, I'm just going to give you my prediction. No angles, okay, people? And for the most part, expect me just to go almost gauntlet baby faces, all right? You got Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Probably the only other match where this is special enough to where they would do some sort of angle, maybe Ronda sides with Triple H, whatever. But again, Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle wins over Triple H and a fucking delirious Stephanie McMahon that thinks she can actually beat Ronda Rousey or something like that. And to give them a win would just be insane. It would make no sense. It would make as much sense as Daniel Bryan and the 3-legged dog Shane with a fucking gut fucking virus to beat Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, okay? So, whatever. The Usos, the New Day, and the Bludgeon Brothers in a triple threat match, whatever. Usos retain. They've tried to make the Bludgeon Brothers into these super badasses, whatever. It's still pretty gimmicky. It's still not believable. The New Day, outside of Big E, we're just tired. I'm New Day'd out. And what Big E has been able to do as a mic performer as of late. I mean, the guy in the ring is just phenomenal, but on the microphone just recently, he's been killing it. I've been talking about shit or get off the pot with Big E Langston for quite some time. I think it's time for him to get some sort of singles push, maybe for the Intercontinental, maybe for the U.S. for now, and work his way up to a main event slot against Roman Reigns or AJ Styles. I think he's ready for that. He's so ready for it. And in this, the Usos, whatever, they've always been on the back burner. Get them in there at WrestleMania, have this really, really good match. And it's going to be a good match. I'm not going to take away, but still, god damn it, man. A 3-way tag team match? I have no time for it. You have the Usos pulling it out. I think, and the Bludgeon Brothers, I don't know, they go rampant and beat the shit out of all those guys. But again, that's just an angle. Usos win. They celebrate in the middle of the ring. The rest of the guys just walk off. Whatever. You deal with the New Day later and have basically the Bludgeon Brothers do something later. Maybe like demand a one-on-one or something. Some shit like that. Cesaro, Sheamus versus Braun Strowman. And to be announced, a tag team. If I was my only prediction, because obviously Braun Strowman's going to win this. He has to win this. And his tag team partner, and I think that's more the prediction than, say, the actual match itself. I think it's going to be Tyson Kidd. I think Tyson Kidd's going to come back, tag with Braun Strowman, and you got a Cesaro Tyson Kidd storyline going there. So Tyson Kidd comes back. He doesn't get a lot of action, but he gets enough action, and him and Braun Strowman become the next tag team champions. For how long? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Braun I just wanted to compete. You can have this belt. Which is not going to help the belt by any means. It's not by having him basically like, fuck this belt. I just wanted to compete in WrestleMania and kick someone's ass. And they got these hands. So what I'm going to do with this belt? I got bigger fish to fry. Which is very Vince. I wouldn't be surprised if he does that just to shit on these tag team belts because he hates tag teams. Um, but who's to say? And but Tyson Kidd is coming back. Um, Asuka versus Flair. Woo-wee. Again, I think this is going to be a great match. Should headline. It should headline. We got the Streak versus the Legacy and the belt. Why? It's not even like they've been fattening her up for Flair. So why build up Asuka this much only to have her lose? She takes that belt from Flair in a barn burner, and they fatten her up for someone else, someone that they really want to legitimize that women's belt with, and it may be Ronda Rousey. So, you know, yeah, Flair shouldn't be on SmackDown anyway. Asuka is a good fit for SmackDown. She's a good fit, but she's doing well on Raw. But you see the direction they're going on Raw. It's not a fighting champion over there. It's Alexa Bliss. So, yeah, maybe Flair goes back, and then you get maybe at SummerSlam Flair versus Jax, and we'll see. Again, Ronda Rousey, they're going to keep her on Raw, but it's so whatever. Who's to say if they're going to bounce back and forth with that women's title to see who fights who, when, and where? You know, I say keep it that way. Keep it interesting. It's not like one brand, and plus they're mixing the brands up moving forward in the pay-per-views. So, yeah, in the pay-per-views. So, I don't know. Maybe mix it up, and they should do that with the men's championship too. Just because you're on the Raw brand, you have to go after the Raw championship. I don't think that makes any sense. You know, I don't think, and we're not saying combine the brands. I'm just saying just for those top titles. I think if you are a top contender for a top title, you should. They already opened up the floodgates with the fucking Royal Rumble. Why not just have it stay consistent? If you're a top contender, you should be able to choose what title you want to go for. You know, that's it. Not for the U.S. belt, not for the Intercontinental belt, not for the tag team belts, just for the top belts, the top men and women belts, which should be one belt anyway, honestly. It should be one belt. There should be one contender, but you get a belt, everyone gets a fucking belt. So Asuka wins this. Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss. They've made talking about women's evolution, revolution, empowerment, to just have petty feuds, you know, just give it all away, you know. It's a joke. The women's evolution is a joke. I think they've been given more time, and I think a little bit of legitimacy has been added, but the storylines they've been given are just these petty women who are conniving and backstabbing and petty. And so this feud is because you get Mickie James all of a sudden is a heel, and Alexa Bliss just talking smack and picking on Nia Jax for her size and stuff. And Nia Jax, rather than being this crazy, deranged monster of a woman demolishing everything in sight in terms of she's throwing fits and crying and breaking luggage. Like, it's whatever, dude. Nia Jax wins. Alexa Bliss gets her comeuppance. Mickie James gets her comeuppance, and they celebrate in the middle of the ring. Maybe The Rock even comes out and raises her hand. That'd be fun. Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, and Jinder Mahal versus Rusev. Fuck this match. Rusev Day. You're going to have fucking 75,000 people yelling Rusev Day at the end of this match. Well, during the match, before the match, during the match, after the match, when Rusev wins the belt. And they're going to do a bait and switch. Bobby Roode turns heel, whatever. Again, I don't think it's too much of an angle to just do that quick bait and switch and have Rusev win the title and just, you know, move on with Rusev Day. And this will be, his fourth time winning the U.S. belt. I don't know what Randy Orton, Jinder Mahal, so fatal 4-way. All right, and then you have The Miz versus Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor, triple threat match for the Intercontinental belt. Again, I think Miz has to lose because he's going to get maternal leave, I think. It will make sense. Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, I feel that if you're going to put the belt on somebody, you put it on Finn Balor. Put the Intercontinental belt on Finn Balor because he still owed a Universal Championship shot. And if you can just get him that for now, to hold people down for now, and he can walk around Balor Club with the Intercontinental belt more than Seth Rollins, who I think should be in the top contender for either Universal or World Championship belts. You do it that way. But I see Finn Balor taking this. And Miz going to be off TV for a while. He'll probably give his speech on the day after Raw, and then he'll probably vanish and show back up down the line somewhere because he's done a great job. He's been given like a really good spot in WrestleMania. He just had a baby girl. By the way, are wrestlers allowed to have sons? Doesn't seem that way. Everyone has. I think the only person who has a son is Shane. He ain't even a wrestler. So, either way. We get AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the U.S. Championship. I think Shinsuke is going to pull this off. They call this a dream match. Again, I've already seen it. I hope those guys come in. And the only thing I'm expecting out of these two is just come in and kick ass and take names. I want them to come in and not be complacent and not go through the motions. Right? I want them to give us something we haven't seen between the two of them, more than say what they've done at even Wrestle Kingdom 10. I just want to see Shinsuke give a fuck because he hasn't been given a fuck. He hasn't. As of late, if you've won the Royal Rumble, you've lost your matches. There hasn't been a Royal Rumble winner win in quite some time. I mean, maybe I'm getting my dates mixed up, but what was it? Who was the Royal Rumble winner last year? Was it? Fuck, it doesn't even matter anymore, man. I don't forget who won the Royal Rumble last year. The year before last. Well, anyway, I mean, I guess it doesn't even matter, but it's time to give a Royal Rumble winner the belt. It's time. Shinsuke Nakamura coming over from Japan to win a belt is a good, the WWE belt is a good story. AJ, you got more matches with AJ coming up soon, and maybe ultimately AJ wins the series. But I hope they don't turn him. I hope they don't do a bait and switch. And just have a competitive match between the two. Shinsuke stands in, violins play, everyone's singing along, and then you move on to the next pay-per-view, and maybe play switcheroo with the belt because I don't see anyone immediately in contention for that belt as of now. I mean, on the SmackDown roster, there's not even one person that even comes close. Not even. Not Randy Orton. You know what I'm saying? Not Jinder Mahal. Nobody. Nobody. It's really depleted. So Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Oh boy, whatever. Roman Reigns wins. See you later, Brock Lesnar. Okay. Oh yeah, already done. So that's Talk about. Oh, man. Talk about a solid finish on that one. Yeah, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns wins. All right. Whatever. Roman Reigns wins, and Brock Lesnar goes away. So that's my prediction show, and hopefully I can get this up tonight, the video up tonight. And And yeah, man, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And I got a surprise for you guys the next time I have a video. I got a surprise for you guys. So stay tuned for my WrestleMania review. Maybe get some reaction videos up in between. But yeah, you're going to get a WrestleMania review. And I'm looking forward to doing it. So until then, enjoy WrestleMania and have a safe weekend if you're on the East Coast, Southeast Coast. The weather is becoming beautiful. Enjoy that weather. And watch out for the foreign objects. I'll see you soon.